Hi, Patrick here. Have Cheetah View. Well, I decided we'd do a quick movie review. I'm still have not caught up with my Dollar Tree. I'll be doing The Sorcerer's Apprentice here in a minute. But I was just spinning around looking at some of the old movies that my buddy Catfish left me, and I caught one that caught my eye, and I said, I'm gonna watch this. I don't know it. I don't know it. I know the name. I knew the name. It was like back of my head. I'm like, where have I seen this before? And then once I did a little background on it, I realized that I did know the writer of this movie. In fact, everybody will know the writer of this movie. I'm pretty sure, or at least I've heard of him, and that would be Louis L'Amour, who is a prolific Western writer. And the movie that we're going to be talking about today is from 1971, and it's a movie called Catlow. I know it's just a disc, but my buddy he didn't have cases. He didn't have room for the cases, so he just put these in all in binders. So this is where I got this. So Catlow, 1971. Wow. Let's see who was in this movie because this movie was stacked as far as the guest goes. You had Yul Brynner, who people remember from Westland and the Magnificent Seven. He played Catlow, the main character. Richard Crenna played his buddy, his best friend, Marshall Van Cowan. Leonard Nimoy, of course, everybody knows who Leonard Nimoy is. He played the bad guy. He played the heavy in this movie. He played Orville Miller. And the lovely Joanne Foog, who lived in Florida and used to go to the Publix quite a bit, from what I understand. Um, uh, uh, she also was the love interest. She played Christina Calderon, and she looked lovely. All right, so this movie's pretty fun. This is a really fun movie. Uh, Catlow and his best friend, his best buddy Ben Cowan, who served together in the Civil War, but now they're sort of friendly enemies on the other side of the law. Uh, uh, Catlow is a outlaw, but he has his morals, he has his honor, and Richard Crenna plays Ben Cowan, the man, Marshall Ben Cowan, who's supposed to try to bring him in. Um, but he wants to bring him in legally. He wants him to have a fair trial and to be treated fairly. Whereas the people in the town that were Marshall Cowan is, they want Catlow dead at any price, and Cowan is not about that. Uh, and then we also have a bounty hunter who's also in the mix, and that would be Orville Miller, played by Leonard Nimoy, who wants him dead to collect the bounty. And so we see the movie opens up with Catlow and his crew, and I said crew. They're rustling some cattle, but it's free cattle. It's nobody's cattle. It's wild cattle. There's no brand on it. Of course, the cattlemen are upset about that because they think that he shouldn't be doing that, and they want him hung up for that. So they hire Miller to bring him in, and but Ben gets there first to arrest him, but then Miller ambushes them in a canyon, and a ferocious gunfight happens, and Catlow and his gang get the best of Miller and his. So that starts a mad dash for bring the cattle in to market so they can sell them before they get busted. Well, they do. They get the cattle in, but as Catlow's wait as he gets paid and he goes to sit down to relax, none other than Ben comes up there to arrest him. Uh, so uh, they go ahead and Catlow he volunteers himself to surrender. He says, Ben, I'm gonna because if he don't, they're gonna kill him at any opportunity. So what better way to not do that than to go underneath the marshal? Uh, but his men they know this is gonna happen, so they arrange to have a small ambush ready, and they go ahead and they rescue Catlow from Ben and get away. Catlow has a new plan. He has a new plan, and what he's going to try to do, he's going to try to steal $2 million gold that was found by the Mexican army, and but Confederate gold. It's government gold. So, but he's going to go down there and try to steal it. And Ben, of course, realizes that gold is American gold. He wants them to turn it in. Um, so the two men are just playing chess with each other, trying to outmaneuver each other, but yet not really seriously intending on hurting each other. They like each other. They're friends. Um, and of course, this brings him into conflict with Miller, and one counter where Miller is left critically wounded by falling onto a piece of pottery, which cuts his vocal cords. He can't speak anymore. Not really. Not really. Um, Catlow and his gang, they do get the gold. Uh, they do trick some help and help them get the gold, and then they're going to make a mad dash for the border um, through the desert, and this leads them into not only conflict with Indians, but also Miller again, and also possibly the Mexican army. Um, yeah, this is like I said, this is a fun movie. This is a back and forth film. Um, Yul Brynner as Catlow. It's funny. I was reading some of the reviews on here, and one of the things that I guess Quentin Tarantino was sitting there saying this is like one of the worst Western movies he ever made, um, and that Yul Brynner was terrible in it, and it just shows you how little Quentin Tarantino really knows. Because honestly, Yul Brynner looked like he was having an absolute blast in filming this movie. He had a lot of joy in this movie. His character is a lot of fun. Um, Richard Crenna also. The whole cast seemed to be having a lot of fun. Jeff Corey, who is a very veteran actor, he played Catlow's right hand man. He had a lot of fun. It was just a really, and the score was outstanding. It was really upbeat and bouncy. Um, there was some violence. There was some, yeah, there are, it's cowboys. So yes, but it wasn't gratuitous um, at all. It wasn't bloody. It was just, and the plot wasn't heavy. It was more, it was just lighthearted. Uh, and the most important thing when you watch a movie like this is you do watch the actors and you do see if they're having a fun, if they're believing the story, and they're, whatnot. And they did. Uh, uh, I was really surprised, quite honestly, with how much fun Yul Brynner seemed to have, because he smiled a lot in this movie. I mean, his whole character was really light on his feet. And most of the movies I've ever seen Yul Brynner in, he's always been dour and very serious, and he's never really been allowed to show that side of his character, of himself on camera. He's always been real. Not even his most famous play, his most famous part, which arguably could be The King and I. It's very strict and very controlled and very tight. And so Catlow, and of course this is Louis L'Amour, and while there was some gunfights, there's also a lot of fistfights in here, and Louis L'Amour was very well noted for that. He'd rather have his two antagonists settle things out with their fists than guns. So a lot of his stories, it might start out with gun violence, but at the end of it, they always end up pretty much fist fighting, and it was really cool, in that respect for his writing. And the same thing happened here. I mean, they didn't end, ended up with the main bad guy. Yes, he bought the farm, but between Catlow and Ben, they stayed friends all the way to the end, with a very interesting little twist at the end of the movie where you'll have to see. Um, I have to go back and find this book because I want to see if that ending is really in the book, because if it is, it's freaking genius. So 1971, the Western was still being made. It was still, John Wayne was carrying the banner for the Western. They were still being made early in the 70s, but as the 70s went on, the movie started returning less and less and less at the box office. America was just tired of westerns at that time. I mean, they had all the TV shows on in the 50s, 60s, and going on to the 70s with Gunsmoke and what have you. They just got tired of the genre, and it just played itself out. Uh, though film studios kept on trying to pump them out, trying to get that last possible dollar. but it just was a real struggle. And Catlow did not do very well at the box office, even though it's a fun movie, but it just didn't do very well because people were burned out. They were more into modern action type movies. But I recommend Catlow if you see it, if you like westerns like I do. I recommend this. This was put out by Warner Brothers, so you can be able to find a copy of it. In fact, I'm probably sure you probably get it at the archive. All right, this movie would be rated PG. It ran for an hour and 41 minutes. It flew by. I had a lot of fun with this, and I think you will too. So if you're into westerns, highly look up Catlow. A lot of fun, a lot of fun. All right, so that's it for this review. If you're new to the channel, hit the button, hit the sub button, drop a comment down below. I'm going to put the trailer down in the description box with a link to the movie database page so you can take a look more about Catlow. Maybe even the website for Louis L'Amour. I'm sure he has one, even though he's left us many, many years ago. All right, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you for the next one. Peace.